Hi there, are you ready to be inspired by a card? Come join me and I'll show you how we're going to use the inspiration from a card to transform into a new project that you are going to love. So see you in a bit. Hi there. This is Natalie and I'm very excited to start my series. This is the first episode of Inspired by a Card with Natalie, and in this series we're going to look at ways of using a card that is already been released to create a brand new project, either a memory keeping layout or any other crafting project. So today I'm going to use the inspiration comes from Verity Biddlecombe. This is from the latest release from the Blog Hub, and I love the fact that she used embossing paste and the new palette knives. So the first thing I'm going to do is Verity's design is for a landscape card. I'm going to transport mine into a portrait because I want to create a title page for one of my gratitude albums. So I'm starting again with some embossing paste, and this is really fluffy and really white, and this is from Altenew, but I want to add color and I want to add it in a fast way. Verity use ink pads. I'm going to use metallic ink spray and I'm using Cosmic Berry. So I'm going to start by creating the darkest color for my application. So I'm going to add just a little bit of the ink because a little bit is going to take quite a way. It's very pigmented, and I'm going to mix it with my embossing paste until I have like the magenta tone that I'm looking for. Once I have it ready, you're going to see that I'm mixing the paste with my number 2 palette knife, but I'm going to switch into the number 4, which means it's longer. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the paste that I created and I'm going to drag it on the cardstock. I want to leave a little bit of a frame in it, and I want to create a smooth application. Unlike on Verity's card, she left a little bit of texture in between the layers. I actually want to make a smooth application. So once I have my first one, I'm going to start adding extra white paste onto the color that I already have in my little watercolor palette, just to lighten it up. And then I'm going to create my second application right next to it. You're going to see it's a smooth application, and then once again I'm going to repeat the process, adding more white to get a lighter color of magenta, and then again once again to get the lightest color. So I want to have 4 colors of magenta going from the left to the right, from the right to the left, but I want to have the smooth application. I'm gonna create the little bump kind of texture that you see in Verity's card in a different way. One of the things, though, I'm gonna make sure that this dries completely before I move on to the next step. So if you see the card, and you're gonna see it, I'm gonna link it actually. The card that she created, when she dried her paste, she left a little ridge and then used that area to add gold. Instead, I'm just making it smooth because I am gonna add the same idea but in a different way. So I'm gonna again use the embossing paste, and this time I'm gonna tint it with a little bit of metallic ink spray in antique gold. I just want to take the whiteness out of the paste. I don't want to make it too runny, so just a little bit to take the whiteness. That's all I want. And this time, instead of having those straight lines that Verity has, I'm actually gonna add a design. For this, I am using the wonderful Wreath stencil. This is from last year holiday season, and all I'm gonna do is I want to create those kind of curvy leaves coming into the pink area. For that, I'm just putting my stencil down and I'm gonna apply the paste that I just created through the stencil to create kind of vines coming into the pink area of the paper. Now, one of the things is that in between the applications, I clean my stencil so that I don't have the contamination of the stencil, the paste anywhere else. So just keep that in mind. And then I am actually gonna use the stencil in the same way that that Verity did. So what I mean by that is I want to use it to define the 4 different colors, such as in Verity's card. So once I'm gonna apply 3 rows in a way of leaves in between the colors. So once I have that, I'm gonna work right away in this area, and so you're gonna see that because I don't want to touch the leaves that I just applied, I am lifting my stencil a little bit, so there's a little bit of the texture kind of seep underneath, so I'm just going to use my palette knife to clean it up. So now to create that gold texture that you see in Verity's card, I'm actually going to use crisp embossing powder, and I'm going to apply it right away on top of the impression of the leaves that I created. I'm gonna shake off as much as I can, but there's a little bit that's left behind, and I'm okay with that. Just gonna give the idea of, think of it as little glitter all over the page, but it's very little. Now here's the key. I am actually gonna emboss this powder right away, and the embossing paste underneath is still wet. So what's gonna happen when you add heat onto the page is the embossing paste is gonna bubble, and I want that to create that texture. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply heat carefully so that my leaves kind of bubble up. I don't want them to explode, and I don't want them to deflate. So as soon as I see the bubble kind of inflate, I'm gonna move to another area, let it cool off, and then I'll come back to finish the embossing. So it's gonna take you a little while. You're gonna see that I keep moving my card. You're gonna see that as soon as my little area kind of bubbles up and starts embossing, before it explodes or like becomes like, you know, deflates, I move on to another area. That way I'm able to create that texture of this kind of curvy leaves, kind of blown out leaves. And it's gonna take a while, but so worth it. And I'm gonna make sure that once I finish embossing, I let it cool off completely. And what I did in meanwhile is trim my cardstock. I trimmed it. This one is around 5.5 by 6.5, 5.5 by 7. Now one of the things that I am gonna use the same as Verity is I'm gonna use the same sentiment, and this is a new die set from Altenew. This is the All About Thanks word die set, and I'm gonna use the same idea that she had to create the offset at the bottom with vellum and create the words out of cardstock. So I'm using the word giving. I'm using 165 pounds to create the word giving, but for the word thanks, I'm actually using the Dazzling Diamond Glitter cardstock from Altenew. I just want a little bit of the extra shine, and I wanted to add an extra sentiment. This is my title page, so I'm gonna use a little sentiment from the Paint a Flower Fashion Monger Dahlia. There's a sentiment that says for you and today and always. So the title page is gonna read giving thanks for you today and always, and you're gonna see that I've stamped it on a little piece of cardstock, and I'm just gonna glue it at the bottom of my scripty words. After that, I am gonna repeat the same idea that Verity has on her card, and is adding enamel dots. Now when she added enamel dots, she followed the colors of the background, meaning she had the darkest colors and the darkest application of the embossing paste. I'm gonna do the opposite. So I'm gonna go with the lightest colors of enamel dots in the darkest area of the embossing paste, and I'm using enamel dots from the Cherry Blossoms and Rose Petals Cosmic Berry enamel dots, just because it has the combination what I have on the background. And I love the fact that it goes the opposite way, so it draws your eye towards looking to look at every single area. Once I have that ready, and it was super simple, I am actually gonna glue my little title page straight onto my notebook. And like I said, this is the cover for number 2. I already created for number 1 and number 3 for different block cups, and I love how this turned out. So you're gonna see I'm just gonna use quite a bit of double-sided adhesive to put it in place, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. I love the fact that I had a card to start with, and I made it my own in a different format. And as always, I hope you try it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Inspired by a Card with Natalie. Take care, guys.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.